Hi everyone. This is Diana from Matrix Alchemia, and today we have with us lovely Ashleen, sharing a bit of her journey, how she's been drawn to the therapies that she does, and how she's, I guess, supporting herself through daily life, just like all of us. So, Ashleen, welcome. Thank you very much for being here and doing this interview with me.
Thank you for inviting me, Diana. It's a privilege to be here with you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, because you do such wonderful work. And so I'm thrilled that you've asked me to come along and be part of this.
Well, you know what they say, it takes one to know one, isn't it, Ashleen?
Oh, thank you.
So, Ashleen, tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do, who you are, who's Ashleen?
Who is Ashleen? Well,
Not all the secrets, a few of them maybe?
the words that have jumped into my head are magical being. Now, I had no idea I was going to say that, but I feel at the moment that I have magic available to me. And when I say magic, I mean in these gorgeous little bottles that I have here and all of these wonderful little bottles behind me. And they are flower and vibrational essences. And for anybody who doesn't know what they help to calm our emotions. And at a time like this, what we're all going through, they are absolutely the best little bottle of magic I can imagine.
Indeed.
So when you ask me, who's Ashleen? I feel I am the connection between those bottles and the people that I work with. And so I am the magical being that's offering out the essence to those who need it. And a bit like a little fairy that hops around from place to place, carrying all this wonderful stuff.
Well, I have to say, whenever I talk of you with telling other people about your therapies, and whenever I'm thinking of you, for me, there's two things that really stay with me. One of them is the energy of the buttercup.
Oh, well, yes.
There will be, for me, forever will be, your energy. And then the other one is, few of the therapies that I've experienced with you, and hearing your voice telling me that, life, I need to, it's about walking through life with ease and grace. And that's been, staying with me for many years now.
Yeah, and it's lovely that you mentioned buttercup. And buttercup essence is just the most wonderful essence of all. And for anybody listening to think, what do they think about when they think of buttercup? What do you think of, Diana, when you think of buttercup?
Joy,
Yes.
just being in the field, the sun is shining and no care in the world.
No, and it brings you back to a time maybe in your childhood when the only thing you wondered about was, when you picked that buttercup, was, do I like butter? And watch it reflect under your chin. And buttercup essence brings us back to that lovely, lovely place where we didn't have a care in the world. And it just lightens our whole beings. And suddenly everything that was serious and worrying becomes, delightful and joyful. And yeah. But the interesting thing about buttercup is that it's also got a very deep root. And so you're very grounded when you use buttercup essence. And so even though you're all delighted and happy, you're grounded at the same time.
I remember one incident, shall we say incident,
Yes.
when we were at the center, the holistic center we were working from, and there were few of us, and we all had a little bit of buttercup essence, and then the giggles and the cheekiness that followed.
And I think somebody said, I think somebody's had a little bit too much buttercup.
Mm-hmm.
Because going from being very serious and heavy and worried about everything that was happening that day, suddenly went to being joyful and carefree.
Yes.
And yeah, so it can have that effect on people, which is wonderful.
So tell us, Ashleen, how does it work? How do flower essences work for people? Because what my aim is with this series is to present to people there's so many other therapies they can access, and it's not just one way of accessing healing, creating healing in the mind, in the body, on many levels in our being. But there's so many other ways, so they can see what they relate with, which one draws them in. So tell us a little bit about how it works, what happens.
Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to lean back here. You can probably see all these bottles behind me. I don't know, I've lost count on how many of them I have. But each flower that grows, each tree that grows, each crystal, gems that exist, everything has its own vibration. And so in order to find out what the vibration is, if you place a bowl of water on a tree, or take the petals of a flower and put them into it, the water changes. It takes on the energy of the plant or the gem. And if you actually look at it under a microscope, it actually completely changes. And what we do then with that water is we make it up into a bottle, and we use some brandy or some kind of alcohol just as a preservative to keep the water. And then we take it. Most bottles, they come with drops, and you just take a couple of drops under your tongue, or you can put them into a glass of water, or you can put them in your hand and just bathe yourself in the energy.
Okay, because that was my other option. My other question actually is, what happens if you don't, you're not drinking alcohol, either health or religious issues, spiritual, principles. So you can still feel the energy of those essences, although you're not drinking it.
Absolutely. Now, you can also preserve it with glycerine.
Okay.
So you don't have to use alcohol. I just have, it's what the way I learned was to use brandy. Yeah, some people use vodka, and then there wouldn't be the same strong smell, but some people use glycerine.
Okay.
But if you didn't want to ingest it, absolutely do that. Or what's lovely is to put a few drops into a bowl of water and keep it with you. And the room emanates with the energy.
Presumably you could be doing that, having a bath and putting a few drops in your bath water, isn't it?
Oh, wouldn't that be just wonderful?
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the beauty of doing that is that you're there with it, and it's all around you then. And yeah, it'd be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
So you were talking about, flower essences. What
Yeah.
other therapies do you do, Ashleen?
Okay, so at the moment, all of the work that I'm doing is online.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working with Reiki. And for a lot of people who know about Reiki or don't know about Reiki, it's generally people with sort of hands on or hands just away from the body. And when I work with Reiki, if my hands are, say, 6 inches away from you, what's the difference than 600 miles away from you?
In
There's no
people's
difference.
perception.
There is no difference, though, because
Yeah.
the energy is focused on the person. So Reiki works from a distance. And the other energy therapy I work with is integrated energy therapy. And it incorporates, I don't know if you can see them here. I'm just going to tilt this.
Oh
You
yes,
see
the beautiful angels
all
behind
my
you.
beautiful angels behind me. And integrated energy therapy is similar to Reiki, but it's more gentle. And it's wonderful for the slogan, which I love. It says, It takes the issues out of the tissues.
I
So
remember that.
yeah, all those things that we hold on to, integrated energy therapy takes them away and it pulls them out from the body. And that can also be done from a distance. And while working online, to some people might feel that they're not really getting the full picture and the full thing with energy, is that I make up combinations of essences for people. I then put them in my hands, and then I send the energy either through Reiki or integrated energy therapy, and it works absolutely beautiful. I had a call from a client one day who asked me to send her Reiki because she had a pain in her back, and I said fine, I would do that. And I just asked her what part of her back. Now, there are Bach essences, which are these ones here, and each one of those represents a different part of the body. So after I had finished the call, I went to my box of essences and chose the particular one for that particular part of the body, and I sent it with the Reiki. Now, this client didn't know I was sending the essence, and the next day they sent me a beautiful email to say that, sorry, I can't remember the words, but there wasn't a single word about their back. They virtually described the essence I had sent them.
Beautiful.
So emotionally, they felt it. And so this is how good Reiki will work from a distance and carry in the essence with it. So does that explain it?
Well, I think it explains. I mean, for me, I do energy healing as well, so I work remotely. So no, it does. It does explain it really well. And I guess, if anybody has any questions, they can always get in touch with us and ask us any questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell me, Aisling, how you were talking about these beautiful therapies. How did you get to do these therapies? How did you get to train in these therapies? Why not something else?
How did I get to them, Diana? I got to working with therapies because I got to a very low place in my life. And I think for many therapists, this is the trigger. I had been working really hard in the corporate world and was probably completely burnt out without knowing it. And I got really stressed, so stressed, I actually ended up with heart palpitations, ended up with the doctor. And I'm very thankful I went to this doctor because at that stage I had done Reiki, but only sort of casually. And she said to me, what about a change in career? And I thought, but I loved my job. And she said, but it's so stressful, it's not doing you any good. And the next day I signed up to do reflexology. And from there on, it was like my whole body started to heal. And I started on a healing journey that I am so thankful I did. But I don't think I would have been there if I hadn't got so low.
Excuse me.
It's often the trigger that we need, particularly people like myself who I would describe myself as an oak person. I love oak trees and oak essences, but oak people keep going no matter what and pushing themselves until they actually literally fall down. Yeah. And so yeah, I needed to fall down in order to start up again. And from there, I went on to do the different therapies. And then 4 years ago, was it, or 5 years ago now at this stage, goodness me, it's 5 years ago, I had moved to England and I wanted to do something, but I thought I would do something online. And I happened on flower essence. And it's like the icing on the cake. It just brings it all together. And because everything else I had been doing worked more or less on a physical level, but the essence sort of work on the emotions. And I feel a lot of physical ailments always have an emotional base. So until we actually address the emotional side, we're never going, the physical side is never going to heal.
Okay. Can you give us an example from your life?
Of a physical pain that wouldn't heal?
Yes.
To be honest with you, I can't. But what I will tell you is, I'll probably come up with someone in a minute, Diana.
That's okay.
But Edward Bach, who first introduced flower essence to the world, he lived 100 years ago, and he was a GP, and he had patients coming to him continually. Mrs. Jones would come in with her sore elbow, and Mr. Smith had come in with his sore knee. And every couple of months they'd be back, and he thought, this is ridiculous. I can't keep giving them same medication over and over again because they're not getting better. So he was also a herbalist and had a real interest in all sorts of plants and their medicinal sides. And he was sitting under a tree one day working on some stuff. And as he was leaning against the tree, he goes, do you know, this feels just like Mrs. Smith. And then he went on someplace else and he found a flower that reminded him, just felt like Mr. Jones. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to try this. And so he made up little tinctures and started giving it to his patients. And to his amazement, their physical ailments began to fade away. And they had been coming to him for years with the same ailments. And that's how flower essence came about.
Beautiful.
Now, you asked me there about physical ailment that I might have had that I used essence for. And I don't, you know, sometimes when something is so big in your life, you don't actually think about it. A bit like the elephant in the room.
Yes.
But this time last year, I fell and I hurt my back. Well, no, I didn't just hurt it, I broke it. And I was in hospital for 2 months, and then I came home and I literally couldn't move. I could just about shuffle from one room to the other. I couldn't step outside because I couldn't go down steps. And everybody I know at the moment is in self-isolation. Well, I was in isolation this time last year. And I felt I was a prisoner in my own house. I felt I was a prisoner in the room I was sleeping in. I was a prisoner in my own body. I was a prisoner in my own head. And I was screaming to get out. And 2 essences helped me get through that. One of them is gorse. And gorse essence, it's a beautiful yellow flower, is for hope. And when we take gorse, it renews our hope, and it makes us feel that actually everything isn't hopeless and that there is hope there. And the other essence that I took was aspen.
Excuse me. Sorry.
That's okay. And aspen is for a fear of the unknown. And you know, sometimes we know we're afraid of spiders or we're afraid of flying them, but they're all known things. But when this time last year, I didn't know if I was ever going to walk again. And that fear of not knowing was worse than actually not being able to walk, if you know what I mean. And sometimes the fear of the unknown can overtake us, overwhelm. Another essence for overwhelm is the elm. There's so many different essences for everything. I'll be here for a couple of hours, Diana, if I started on them all.
So has this, well, I was hoping you're going to, you know, talk about your big crisis in a way that you've gone through. And I've seen you through it. And it's beautiful to see how far you've come, in so many ways, mentally and physically and energetically, and it's beautiful to witness. I was hoping you're going to mention that.
Yeah,
What has this taught you, as in how you see things or how you address life now?
I would say that the one thing that has come out of this is that the true power is in here. And when you can't gain it from outside influences or outside things, we have to look inside. And I realized that that's where my strength lies. And we think we can't do things. We think we haven't got the strength to keep going. But that's because we're pushing out there all the time. But if we actually come back into ourselves and have a chat with our true selves, our hearts and our souls, and sit quietly with them and realize actually it's a very nice place to be. And that the next time we try to move out, we bring that energy and that power and that fire that lies within us to move forward. Now, you said you were hoping that I was going to talk about it. And I suppose a lot of the time, Diana, I feel I went through it last year. And I remember at the time thinking, I don't want to be this person, not being able to walk, not being able to do all the things I wanted to do. And by using my inner strength, I didn't become that person. And so when I talk about it now, it feels like it was somebody I used to know. And I know that the person I was before that, I'm never going to be them again. The person I was last year, I'm definitely not them. And the person I am this year is a far more rounded, far more understanding person, far more in tune with myself. My intuition has gotten so strong, it's incredible. It surprises me sometimes. And so out of crisis can come such wonderful, good things.
Very true. Excuse me. Very, very true. Especially when we're dealing with a life-changing situation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because it was.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally life-changing. But the universe obviously was fed up trying to get me to change, and I wasn't listening. And so it floored me, literally floored me. And so I spent the first couple of months of last year on my back, and I couldn't move. And during that time, I learned how to receive, which was a biggie. And I think for a lot of therapists out there, it's a biggie.
Oh, yeah.
We're wonderful at giving, but when it comes to receiving, we're not the best. And it took me almost the full year to learn that one. Right through till the autumn, I had to keep learning new bits. And this year I've learned patience. Yeah.
Yes.
So the new me
I am yet to learn that. But I have a 5-year-old, so yes, yeah. I'm working through it.
Yeah, that's slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's beautiful. So that's really beautifully leading us to the question that I was thinking of asking you. So, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of therapies doing all sorts of therapies that come across this forever positive, bright, beautiful persona, almost something that you can't necessarily sustain.
Absolutely.
So how do you see life as a therapist?
Life is hard. There's no two ways about it. If it was easy, we'd be so bored, you know? And life throws challenges at us to make us sit up and do things. And some of those challenges are small, and some are so big, and everybody deals with them in a different way because we're all different personalities. And for some people, a serious crisis, like everything that's happening at the moment, going on with the virus, can be so overwhelming for some people. And in the midst of all that, you might have somebody who's broken a nail and they can't get to the nail technician to sort it out. And that could be their crisis. But it's a crisis nonetheless. And that's what life is. Life is full of ups and downs. And nobody's perfect. The healing path isn't always an easy one. But those who embark on it do it because they know they can see the light at the end. Those who don't embark on it maybe aren't just quite ready to, or maybe they actually don't see any path at all and are happy where they are. But are they living a full life, or are they only living part of their lives?
So have you, as a therapist, as a person, all figured it out?
Sorry, Deanna. Yeah, absolutely. My world is perfect. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a journey, you know? And as I said, last year I learned receiving. This year I've learned patience. We're learning the whole time, you know? We're constantly learning. And but that's the wonder of the human being, you know, and life. Listening to the birds, and they seem to be really singing at the tops of their voices this weather when everything else is so quiet. I'm curious to know what birds are singing that, because I don't know, you know. So we're always learning, always learning.
Indeed. It's just, I guess, part of my wish with this series as well is to present, you know, what kind of therapies they're available there, but also to present the therapists as human beings having this experience, having up and downs, having, you know, bad days and off days, and because a lot of the time when I worked with people, I get this you know, feeling of them expecting us, the therapist, to have it all figured out, because otherwise why would we do this work?
Well, I think, Deanna, to explain that in simple terms is that you have a headache, you take a tablet, the headache goes. We don't have magic tablets, you know? And so many people go to the doctor for something and they give them a prescription and they go home. That's fine. That's dealing with the symptoms, but it's not dealing with the issue. And
the issues from the tissues, yeah?
Exactly. And so that's why, as therapists, it's not a quick fix. It's a way of engaging in life and living life to the fullest with all its ups and downs. And as therapists, we go through the same, you know? And I think really that if people are drawn to working with a particular therapist, it's because they're experiencing the same thing that therapist has experienced. And so it puts the therapist in the perfect place to help that person. Somebody said to me once that you will always find the teacher when the need arises.
Very true.
Yes, because they understand, and they can understand exactly where you're coming from and how to get you to the other side of that issue at that time.
Beautifully expressed. So tell us, Aisling, what do you do on a daily basis, on a regular basis, for yourself to support yourself? As Aisling, the person.
Aisling,
obviously,
the person.
that is part of Aisling, or well, Aisling, the therapy is being part of Aisling, the person.
Aisling, the person, always tries to think of the good side of things. I don't like to let the dark side overtake. And what I'd like to describe it as is if you see something, what have I got here? I can't see anything at the minute, but okay, any item that you pick up in a shop, on one side is the label, and it says what it is, and on the other side is a barcode. And if I showed you a barcode, all you'd see is a load of lines and a load of numbers. And if I said to you, what's that? And you go, oh, I don't know what that is. And you could panic. And then if I turned it around, you go, oh, that's such and such a thing. So I always try to look at the side that makes sense rather than the side that doesn't make any sense at all to me. And that way, by always knowing that there's always another side to everything, that's one of the things I do. But my favorite thing to do in the whole world is to go and visit my oak trees.
One of them.
One of them in particular.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's my young oak. And Pat, my husband, always says, if I ever go missing, he always knows I've run off with the oak tree in the woods. But yeah, connect with nature is what I love to do. And it sort of brings me back to myself. It brings me back to my actual breath. If I go into the woods and just listen to the birds, connect with the oak trees, and just be. Not doing anything, just be. And it brings back my energy, it brings back my joie de vivre, my fire inside me, and sets me up ready for the rest of the day.
It reminds me of another saying. There's a time I hear it in my head with your voice. I know that's how it works with me. We are human beings, not human doings.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Deanna. Absolutely. Yeah. And so often we're doing. But you know what's wonderful at the moment? Is so many people out there are being.
I know, but isn't it interesting that everybody seems to be, excuse me, kind of enjoying the fact that they're slowing down and they don't have to do many things, but then they get surprised because they often find themselves in crisis.
Yes, and I think it's because they haven't had the time to venture there before this. And the beauty, though, of finding themselves in crisis is that they can then find their way out of it through the other side. You know, whereas up to this, they've possibly been frightened to even go there. Whereas it's giving them the opportunity to go there now. And I know it's not a nice place to be. I've been there. But there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And while everything just seems too hard to handle and too confusing, turn it around and look at the bright side. Don't look at the barcode.
Change the perspective.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So one of the things that I keep on thinking about, and it comes to me today, and we didn't plan this, but maybe you're willing to do it. I was thinking, how about choosing an essence for us today, for anybody that will be watching this video, to connect with that essence?
Well, I can feel it singing in the back of my ear here. It has to be Buttercup, doesn't it?
We did say about the Buttercup. We weren't planning it, were we?
No. Where is my Buttercup? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's not the line. There we are. Yes. So I'm just going to show it up to the camera there. Look at the beautiful yellow.
Mm.
So what I will do with the Buttercup is I put a drop in my hand. And I'm just going to put it over me for a minute and bathe myself in it. And now, Deanna, I'm going to send it to you and to everybody else that watching here, and follow me, and just so you've oh sorry, just wanted to go a little bit further. There are people in far places that needed to receive that. Okay. And now it's in everybody's hands. So we're going to go up. Do you want to do this? We're going to go up over our faces and across the top of our heads, and then down to our shoulders, and flick down your back, down each arm, down the front, down your legs. And now you can skip off.
I'm allowed, yeah?
You're allowed.
It's a full moon as well, so, you know.
I know. I'm actually
I'm not sure that was very safe doing the Buttercup tonight with the full moon.
It's perfect. And you know that the cow jumped over the moon, and the little boy laughed to see such fun, and something ran away with the spoon. I don't. You're probably you do know that one, no?
No, sorry.
And it just, the little boy laughed to see such fun. It's perfect for Buttercup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Aisling, thank you so much for talking to me today. So, you know, sharing about yourself, telling us about one of your life crises and how you got yourself through it, and giving us some tips and things that you do, and explaining to us how it works, what you do. So just to recap a little bit, so you're working with flower essences at the moment. Obviously you do other therapies, but at the moment working remotely, flower essences, Reiki energy healing, and IET, which is integrated energy therapy, working with the angelic energies.
Yeah.
Primarily, isn't it?
Oh, yes. The angels love to connect in.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially your angel Gabriel and
Michael.
And Michael, yes. I know we had a session, well, you did a session on me last night, and yes, few of the messages, isn't it?
Gabriel had quite a few things to say to you, didn't he?
Yes, very chatty. Anyways, tell us, please, where people can find you, Aisling.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook, and that is under Ruby Rua Holistic Therapies. That's RUBY RUA. And you'll also find me on my website is Ruby Rua Holistic Therapies
Right. So I'm going to put the link to your website and to your Facebook page, and people can go and find you.
Thank you very much, Diana, and
to
thank
connect
you
with you
for the opportunity to be here with you today.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for being part of my project for 2020 to bring the holistic therapies to the world and to show the world that therapists are just human beings that have decided to actively walk on their healing journey and deal with everything, and they don't have it all figured out. They still experience their own crises, and they still have bad days and off days, and when things like my voice when they don't work, and it's okay, to be like that. You can still help people. It's just about allowing things to flow through you and towards you, but obviously not get stuck with them, and using the tools that you have, isn't it?
Well, that's it. And by our experiences and being able then to use the tools we have, we're there to help people who are going through similar crises.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Ashleen.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
And thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've got some insights, and you're relating to things that Ashleen said about what being a human being is. Whether you are just a human being this happens to be a therapist, or you just walking through life. Thank you very much for watching. This is Diana from Matrix Alchemia. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.